how minimalism changed my life, and it's not for the reasons that I thought. It all started because I was feeling overstimulated. I was burnt out and I didn't know. It's crazy to think and look back and be like, who was that? My house was a complete wreck. I just simply couldn't keep up with anything. I was a new mom of two. I was working from home and my husband was constantly traveling, so I was solo parenting 95% of the time. I had no friends, no family, and we were new in a big city, so I really had no connections. So let's chat about it. Hi, if you're new around here, I am Yelly. I am a new mom of four, recently had my fourth baby, and I became a minimalist about 4 years ago. And it was by accident. Although I used to think that I was pretty minimal, I think I had the minimalist mindset. And in a way, I was following a lot of minimalist principles. I wouldn't buy a lot of things. I love to travel the world prior to having kids. And then kids happened and it's not their fault. I just did not have systems and things started to pile up fairly quick. I had my first daughter and I just started buying all these things and I just started taking on all these things, and everybody had like, oh, I have this car seat for you, or I have all these blankets for you from my first daughter, and I just didn't know how to say no. I was extremely grateful for all the things and I felt guilty for letting go of a lot of those things because they were gifted to me, right? So what exactly brought me to minimalism was that I found myself one day crying in the corner of my office while I was working from home with two kids. I did not know what to do. I was by myself. I felt so overwhelmed. I was crying and I didn't realize that I had hit burnout for a long time. And burnout is one of those things that it doesn't hit you overnight. It's not like you go to sleep, you wake up and you're like, I'm burned out. This like silently deadly thing that happens over so many years, so many months, that you don't feel it when it hits you until you're right in the deep of it. And that was me. I felt something was off for a few years, but I never did anything. So it hit me and I realized there was something wrong. It was not me. I just thought it was postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, and sure, I had both. And I had also just been diagnosed with ADHD, which I just felt like I was spiraling on every aspect of my life. I just felt overwhelmed and drowning on every aspect, like my marriage, my friend. It was not a pretty time. I think I hit my rock bottom, one of my deepest and not very fun time in my life. But I hit it for a reason, and I really think that that's what led me to that. One day I was scrolling on social media and I heard somebody talking about I was feeling overwhelmed and I decluttered my life. And then I remembered us watching The Minimalist, the show on Netflix, and I was like, this is what I need to do. I'm gonna start decluttering my life and see what happens. And sure enough, I started with one bag and I started with my pantry and I started to let go, and I felt so proud of myself because I accomplished something, right? Then I moved into my bathroom, and then I started moving into some of the kids' toys, which they were driving me insane. And little by little, I started to feel so free and I felt like I was able to breathe. And it was such a magical moment for me. I was just realizing all the things that we had that I didn't need and I was holding on to for that guilt because all those things were gifted to me, or because somebody gave me that, or because I was holding on to a past memory. And it was just in a way kind of toxic. So I've learned a lot through my journey, and I've shared my journey since I started, and I have been able to teach and guide other people do the same thing. And I hear the stories and it always brings so much joy to me. So I'm going to start with number one of things or ways that minimalism has changed my life. And number one is going to be, it gave me my time back. I used to spend so much time picking up and cleaning up because I was not just cleaning. And let me tell you, I was not a messy kind of person or dirty kind of person, but it definitely took me a very long time, and that was putting me on edge constantly. So that gave me a lot of time back in the sense of when it came to cleaning, I was not tidying up so much. And little by little, you start picking up systems and you adapt systems based on your personality and your lifestyle and your current season. And that's why I'm constantly saying to you guys, just know what your lifestyle currently is and know that you're probably gonna have to pivot later on, and that is totally okay and that is totally normal to do. So in a way, I realized I didn't need more time. I just needed better systems and less junk, to be very honest with you. Now let's move on to number 2. I stopped yelling so much. And no, I'm not proud of it. And I think we all have had our fair share maybe. I was just constantly on edge. Not only my house was cluttered, but also my mind was so cluttered, and it just felt so overwhelming and suffocating. And I just never realized how bad that was for me. So it all started to just make a little bit more sense and bring a little bit more peace into my mind and to my home. So in a way, it helped calm my space and my mind and also myself. And no, I can't say that I never yell or I never scream or I don't get mad, because I still do. We're human. But it has definitely helped me regulate a whole lot more. Number 3 is going to be, it has helped me parent a whole lot more intentionally. I stopped giving into this whole I have to be the perfect mom and more into the I have to be a present mom. Perfection is probably not taking me anywhere. I would paralyze and freeze, and if it's not perfect, I just wouldn't do it at all. And I realized that I just wasn't really doing anything. So I started to focus more on being more present rather than perfect. I remember I would get very upset if my kids made a mess in the house, or if they spilled the milk, or if they just took all the toys out, because why would you do that if I have to clean it? And I realized that is the whole point, and that's the reason why I simplified my home and I minimized my home, because all those little messes that are completely normal, especially when you have little kids, became a lot easier for me to pick up and tidy around. So instead of me being constantly yelling at them or being upset, I became a little bit more intentional and just let them make a mess, because that is just part of life and I cannot avoid that. But what I can actually avoid is having less stuff to make it easier for me, and even easier and less overwhelming for them as well. Because if I'm overwhelmed, chances are the kids are also overwhelmed. Number 4 is I became a lot more content. And this one's a huge one, because I was the kind of person that I was moving up the ladder, and we had, for many reasons in our lives, we have had to start over after my husband coming back from the military and then starting over. He wanted to start a career as a pilot. So we had to sell our first home and move and then start over, starting in a tiny, I think it was 800 square feet apartment, going from owning a home. And I just hated it so much. And I just constantly was comparing myself to others and wanting to move on to the next best thing, because that's just human nature, I would think, especially with social media. I am guilty of it. And I just found it very hard. And then we bought the big house, and for some reason I still felt empty, and that big house only brought more clutter. And that's exactly how I was able to hold and store so much clutter. And that's where my story began, in that big house, because I just thought the big house was the answer, and the answer was to have less and be content with the season that I was in and my current life at that moment. So in a way, I let go of the shame, I let go of you should do all these things, and I just actually learned about true gratitude. And that right there made a huge difference in my journey. When I got to that point of I am grateful and I am content, things change. Now, let me say one thing. There is a difference between being content and being complacent. Just because you are content doesn't mean that you're not going to continue working for your goals and your intentions in your life. It just means that you know that right now you're in a certain season, you keep on pushing, and you don't have to pressure yourself constantly. Number 5 is that we built our house completely different and very intentional when we started building our Barndo home. And if you are new around here or you don't know our story, we recently built a Barndominium home under a budget for less than $200K, which is unheard of in our area at least. And we were extremely intentional about it, and a lot of that has to do with the gratitude and the contentment that I was talking on number 4. We, instead of focusing on the perfect home and all the biggest and greatest and the latest, we focused on intentionality and just simplicity to, 1, save money, and 2, just to have a blank canvas where we could move into and then start adding on and just make it our home little by little, with intention and no clutter, because we are not trying to have clutter around here. The main goal was to make more space for our margin and our time, and just to raise our children basically. And then the rest will come. Number 6 is that it has made us a lot more financially free. And this one's a huge one because when you are minimal, you're not overspending on things that you don't necessarily need. You learn to be more mindful. You learn how to not just buy or just because it's on sale, or I'm gonna walk in the store and I'm gonna let the store let me tell me what I need. Instead, you go in there with one goal and one goal only, and you normally try to stick with your list or what you actually went into, because again, you're not trying to buy the things that you already declared in the past. Essentially lessens all the impulsive purchases, and you're not constantly wanting to spend money. And the dopamine hit that you get when you're constantly buying the retail therapy, you learn how to get that dopamine hit by decluttering and possibly saving your money as well. So we shop with a whole lot more intention, especially because we're on track to pay off my husband's flight school student loan in hopefully 3 years. I started sharing with you guys my journey of his student loan. We started with $84,000 as of June 1st, and we are finally a little bit under 79K. So our goal is to be able to pay it off as soon as possible, and minimalism is probably one of the ways that we're going to be able to accomplish it. And lastly, number 7, I could probably go on and on, but number 7 is it changed the way that I see myself. I used to think that I was messy and I could never keep up with anything else, with no systems, because I had ADHD and because I had kids and because my house, this is my new normal. And it just made me realize that I just needed the right habits and the right systems based on my personality type and based on my needs during a certain season of my life. In this case, having young children, a baby, and mom of 4, and not having a village around me. So having the right systems have helped me so much, and I don't see myself as a lazy mom anymore, or as a mom that cannot keep up with anything, or as a mom who has a dirty home. It made me change the way that I think and see myself, and to me that's great. This is where the whole are you lazy or are you just managing a lot of stuff comes into place. Again, I used to think that I could never keep up with anything, but turns out that I probably just had too much junk going on over there in the house, and I needed to let go of it and also clear my mind. Because when I decluttered, I did not just declutter my house and the physical stuff, but I learned how to declutter my mind and declutter my calendar. I learned to set boundaries. I learned to say no, because no is a whole sentence. So all in all, I'm not here to say that minimalism is going to change your entire life, but it definitely has a lot of principles that just form the foundation to help you out pick yourself back up on busy times. I just feel like being minimalist or minimalish, because I don't even consider myself a minimalist, but being more minimalist definitely gives you that foundation and that structure that you need, especially in a very busy and overwhelming season of your life. It gave me that margin and bandwidth that I was looking for, that I didn't even know I needed, by letting go of all the clutter. It cleared my mind, it cleared my space, and it cleared just everything around me. And at the end now, my desire is to help others, share my journey, share all the things that I have learned through the years, and just help you simplify, save, and become the best version of yourself. And I really hope that God continues to bring me this platform and we continue to grow. Surprisingly, I thought nobody would ever listen to my life because it was boring and too simple. And we have built a community of almost over 200K, which is so crazy to me to think. But anyway, thank you for being here, and I'll see you on the next one.